don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to We Say Things, episode 136. SUNSfan here with Cinderin. Hello, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. Congrats on hitting puberty.
Thank you so much, Cinderin. Really appreciate it. This episode's sponsored by nobody, by the way. It could be you one day, you watching out there, the one with millions and millions of dollars. But that also means we get to talk about our beautiful patrons right off the bat. Thank you to Imp Nibbler 69. Vovalicious, bring back Ancient's Jungle Necro. My balls are still delicious. Thank you, Manscaped, from me and my wife. Roundy 3. My name is not Daniel Schaefer, else it would be my birthday on Sunday. Happy birthday to whoever the hell that is. Games for Falling Asleep thinks Dota could have millions of players if it were properly marketed. Disco Farm D, Vincent Darksea, Hakuna Matata, Commander Donut, Bread Sheeran, Chakar Still an Asshole, Mumbai Munich, The Megapope, Broomhead. If Dota was a Hillsong event, do you think Sydney would let us have it? TI in New Zealand. Not sure if
What's
I read
a
that
Hillsong
right.
event?
I don't know. And Zan Xavier, thank you.
Hillsong Conference is about championing the Church of Jesus Christ. We are the church.
Wow. Riveting. Very interesting.
The Hillsong Conference.
Go ahead, Cinderin. People are waiting for you to continue.
Where were you? San Xavier?
Yes.
Nate Thicker 01 Hamscroats. Bacon. Cinderin looks like a swollen dickhead. Thank you. That's very nice of you. Shark TM. Freshly seasoned goat balls is back. Dop. Nothing to see here. _man. Ben Broomhead lives in Australia, so a TI in New Zealand would be extremely poggers champus. Let's make it happen. Pitch Black. Wooden Aftertaste. Done Talk Anonymous. And finally, Peter. Elephants are the only animals that can't jump. Niebling.
Animals? That doesn't sound right. I'm going to say bullshit on that one, Mr. Niebling.
Are fish animals?
Yes.
Fish can jump if they're on land.
That's right.
So who else can't jump?
I don't know. Me.
That's true. You are an animal. You got it.
All right, let's get started with a couple of quick topics from me. I have a Windows 11 review. So I've had Windows 11 for a decent amount of time on my Surface Pro, which I already reviewed, by the way. Good stuff. And recently, my computer's been running a bit slow, so I needed to reformat, and I figured, hey, if I'm going to reformat, I might as well run Windows 11 as well. Here are my complaints, Cinderin.
Okay.
The first one apparently will be fixed in the next major update, but it's so unforgivably bad that it annoys the shit out of me. If you have multi-monitors, the clock does not show up on other taskbars. So if I'm playing Dota, I have no idea what time it is, which bothers me. I know it's a small thing for most people, but it really bothers me.
Why is that a thing?
Which part? Not having it or having it?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's literally, they took Windows 10 and they were supposed to add stuff, and they literally deleted this feature that's just like, what could possibly be the reason? I do not know. Very annoying, though. In addition, you can't disable the grouping of icons. So if you have like two Chrome windows open, creates that little, when you click it and then these two little windows come. I've always hated that. Personal thing, though. I know most people are probably used to it. I'm a bit of a boomer with that. It's a pain in the ass to make, but you can do it after I Google it to create links in your taskbar itself. Because I like having direct links in my taskbar to like my C drive, my Google Drive, stuff like that. There's no easy way to access the task manager. You can still Control-Alt-Delete to do it. And apparently you can now right-click the start menu to find it. But I like right-clicking the taskbar. I'm a very big taskbar person, apparently.
Right-click taskbar. To the task manager straight away.
How?
Control-Shift-Escape.
Yes, I know about that hotkey because I looked it up recently, but that's still not as easy to me as right-clicking the taskbar and going to Task Manager. So I guess I have to do that to the start menu now. So again, these are slight
I didn't
annoyances.
realize you could right click.
I reformatted, and in my device manager, there's a couple devices that are not recognized still. I literally have no idea what they could be. One is SM Bus something, and one's a PCI Express device. Computer's running fine, though.
PCI Express, they make really good Chinese food, right?
That's right. They're delicious. Love the orange chicken. And last but not least, the new addition, which I was really hoping would be what I kind of wanted, which I'll talk about now, is the widget system. I've disabled it. It is fucking trash. Trash. It's like this button brings up like weather and all this bullshit, and then it goes away. So for the longest time, Cinder, I don't know if you know this, I've been using, do you remember widgets from Windows Vista? Does that ring any bells to you?
Vista does, but what were widgets?
So widgets were these things that were on your desktop at all times, and you can actually make them go in front of every window as well. And a lot of people, like, they opened up to third parties, and they had like a CPU thing where you could see your CPU usage. You could have the weather displayed.
Oh, that.
You could have your GPU temperature and all that stuff. You could have the network being shown as well, like how much you're downloading, uploading. I have used that. For some reason, they got rid of it after Windows Vista because of security issues, but I have always used a program called 8Gadget or something to recreate that because it's fucking awesome. So I was hoping, because it feels ghetto to have to like install something from Windows Vista that I just use all the time on my computer. So, you know, they came out with these widgets and they're garbage. They don't do anything. Nothing useful. It's just like bullshit news that I don't give a shit about. It's just meh.
The weather.
The weather. But you have to click it to be able to see it. It can't just be showing at all times. So I'm going to give Windows 11 a 7 out of 10 because it's basically... How much would you give
Windows 10?
Windows 10 is like a 9.5. Very good.
So you're saying you downgraded?
Yes, but a lot of the things are just minor annoyances that I'll get used to. And in case you're wondering, Windows XP SP2 and Windows 7 were both 10s. Those are the best operating systems that I've ever used. 10 was very good, though. So yeah, Windows 11, whatever. Everything's running faster, but it's because I reformatted. I don't know how much that has to do with Windows 11. So
okay,
that's it. Okay, second thing, Cinder, is a story I have to tell.
Okay.
Do you believe in ESP?
What's that?
Look it up. I don't remember what it stands for. Just look it up.
Extrasensory perception.
Do you believe
in unproven paranormal phenomenon in which people allegedly receive information about or exert control over their environment in ways they don't use the five senses?
Yes. Do you believe in ESPs?
Oh, that's okay. It's basically the sixth sense.
It's kind of like a vague. Like, it could be, you know, with ghosts or like feeling like you can see the future. Kind of like it could be anything, right? It's like a vague.
I don't believe in that.
Okay, so when I was a kid, it's funny. Like a lot of these stories that I don't remember just come up that because something triggers it. When I was a kid, stuff would happen to me like. I don't know how often, a bunch of times, like quite often, like semi-consistent, like twice a year, let's say, like a little kid, where I would feel something and it would happen, okay? And I'm a little kid, I don't know what to think of it. It's like, okay, this is just, you know, I don't remember what I thought of it. And the problem is now I don't remember almost any of them, except for one specific one, because I made such a big deal out of it that I've just always remembered it. And this was this feeling like, just, I forget what triggered like the reason that I thought this, but I'm like, I was like 6 or 7 years old, living in the Middle East. Like, this, you know what's weird? I probably watched like a cartoon with like a rat or a mouse in it. I'm like, you know what's weird? I have never actually seen a mouse before. And I found that really weird. And I walk into the other room literally 5 seconds later, and what do I see? A mouse. And I start freaking out and screaming. And I remember vividly that I wasn't really scared of the mouse. I was more scared that I knew. I felt that that was going to happen. You know, obviously this is a huge coincidence, but this kind of stuff would happen to me semi-consistently, okay? And it happened to me, and through adulthood, nothing. It's just like gone. It's like a skill that's been gone. The other day...
Is it possible that you had already seen the mouse, but then forgot about it 2 seconds later, and then you were like, "I'm gonna see a mouse," and then you're like,
Sure.
"Holy shit, there's a mouse."
That is possible if I had early onset dementia at 6 years old. Yes, definitely
Hmm.
possible. So the other night, after not
I think
having
so.
this experience since I've been like 7 or 8, I'm sitting on the couch, and I don't know if it was you and me casting or who it was. Maybe you'll tell me. And I was just I was drinking a diet soda or something, right? And I'm thinking to
Hmm.
myself, "Oh, we had that cast where we were talking about Jenkins drinking like ridiculous amounts of diet soda, and my co-caster said, "Well, at least he's still being hydrated." Was that you?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I'm thinking like that was it's like I don't know why I'm thinking about this. I'm like, all right, you know, diet soda obviously it has sodium, so it cancels out a lot of that shit, and it has this fake sugar, right? And
Hmm.
I'm like, sugar, that would make a really good word on Wordle. Huh, that's interesting. 5 seconds later, I realize, oh, it's 1 a.m. The Wordle has updated. Let me go try it. Lo and behold, the word is sugar. I got it in one go, Cinderin. I usually use the word horse for reference. I've
But
never
you
used
used
the word
sugar
sugar.
before that time.
I have
That wasn't the
never,
literal first time you used it, was it?
literal first time I've used sugar. Yes. I've used super in the past. Maybe that's what you're,
Oh, was it super? Okay. Yeah,
literal
that's what it was.
first time. Get it right. And the thing is, and I know, people are going to perceive this differently. When I typed it in and I saw the S turn green, I'm like, I know for a fact I got this right. For some reason, I knew it and I got it right, Cinderin. And what did I do? I freaked out, scared the shit out of my wife. And she asked me what's wrong. I'm like, nothing. I got Wordle in one go. And she was very excited for me. So that's my story.
Shannon, have you thought about, like, if you have these superpowers, about doing something, actually impactful with them instead
No,
of discovering mice or guessing the word on Wordle?
no, not interested. I like
Okay.
useless shit like this that make good stories. Okay. So that's my ESP coming back to me. All right. So thank you so much for listening. All right.
I
So,
remember when I was a kid,
okay, we got
I
another
was
story.
thinking, I hope when I go to the fridge, there's still milk left. And then I went and there was still milk left. And I was like, I fucking knew it.
That's definitely the same thing as seeing a
Yeah,
mouse for the
thank you.
first time after thinking you've
Yeah.
never seen a mouse. And the same as choosing sugar as a 5-letter word. How many 5-letter words are there? Like, it's one thing if it's horse that I use every day. Eventually, it's going to be right. Sugar? Come on. All right? There's something there, Syndron. There's no as the great V for Vendetta said, there is no such thing as a coincidence. Remember that.
I
Thank you.
will I will keep an eye out now that you've told me this. I will keep an eye out for weird things that happen around you that are not related to you just burping really loudly randomly for no reason.
First of all, I am offended that you even use the word burp in my presence. You know it's a belch.
Belch.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Burping is for
sorry.
little
My
children
bad. Yes.
and to Jenkins, who's incapable of belching.
Mm.
Okay, let's move on to the news of the week. The DPC 2022 Winter Tour Regional Finals, which I quote unquote leaked. I do want to talk about this briefly, Cinderin,
Mhm.
because I feel like this is, I know that people are going to look at this differently. In my estimation, this is a gray area that I felt I was fine with coming out with this information. And the reason for that is the info. I feel like as a freelance caster and somebody that has a podcast, I'm not really obligated to hold on to this information, especially when my sources give it to me and they say that they're fine. They're fine with me posting it. Like, I got permission from everybody beforehand. Now, if I was
Mhm.
in, like, if Valve was emailing me or if I was part of the group, or, obviously you don't need to sign an NDA for these kind of things, but usually there's this line that you understand you're not supposed to. But I feel like as a freelance caster, it's like, what exactly is my obligation? I feel like the only time I wouldn't do that is if somebody gets hurt. Like if it's a sexual assault case, something like that. Obviously, there's lines that you don't want to cross. But for something like this, nobody's really getting hurt. Literally every source is more than okay with it. So that's why I felt comfortable with it, in case you were wondering. So why don't you, since I've been talking this entire time, read. Well, you don't need to read the whole thing, but the gist, if you want to.
What's the gist of this? There's like
The
50
gist,
lines.
please. The gist, Syndrin.
Okay, I'll try to do a TLDR basically, but we kind of did, talk about this last week. It's basically word for word's the same thing, right? I'll just try to read it quickly. How about that? Are you ready?
If you want.
A little over a week ago, we announced the cancellation of the first major of the DPC 2021-2022 season. When we did so, we didn't present an alternative solution that would address the absence of prize pool and DPC points. When it became clear that scheduling a LAN with the proper requirements wouldn't be possible within schedule, we didn't feel confident that any alternative would have a positive outcome. Delaying the major to a much later date would make it unfair for players from teams to change rosters between now and then. Running a global online tournament would result in matches where the high latency among faraway regions would have a substantial impact on the quality of the matches, affecting the competitive integrity of those games. Replacing it with regional or bi-regional tournaments would eliminate the cross-regional play that lets teams from deeper regions earn more points towards international qualification. In particular, bi-regional tournaments can result in situations where an above-average region is punished because they were paired with another strong region, and a weak region is benefited by being paired with another weak region.
Hold on. Let me try one paragraph. Hold on. We
Wow, I just had an ESP moment there.
Quickly realized so listening to feedback from the teams that fans that our priorities were wrong and we were successful at being mindful of players participating in the DPC. This was part of a mistake on our part. We are sorry. We set up making right. Do you understand any of that? They apologized. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I can also read faster than I did, but then nobody can tell what you said.
Try it. Let's hear it.
No, what a waste of time.
Please.
We quickly realized, though,
I read this part
already.
They
made a typo. There's a typo in a Valve post.
Hold on. Oh, though instead of through.
Oh. That is not good.
No.
That is kind of that really shows something, I guess. We quickly realized, though, through listening to feedback from teams and fans that our priorities were wrong and we were not successful at being mindful of players participating in the DPC. This was a big mistake on our part. We're sorry and we're set on making it right. We held possible discussions with teams and tournament organizers to understand what was possible to execute and what made the most sense for everyone. While it became clear to everyone involved that there was no perfect solution that would address every issue, we decided to move forward with running 6 regional finals tournaments. The DPC 2021-2022 regional finals will take place over 2 weekends, with 3 regions playing on February 11 to 13, and the other 3 playing February 18 to 20. So it's 2 3-day tournaments. The top 4 from each region will compete in a double elim tournament with a $100,000 prize pool. February 11 to 13, Western Europe, SEA and SA. February 18 to 20, China, Eastern Europe, and NA. Each regional finals placement will be awarded the following: first place $50,000 and 250 DPC points. Second place $25,000, 130 DPC points. Third place $15,000, fourth place $10K. And then on top of that, since more details will be available through each region's tournament organizer, since this would create a situation where each region earned the same number of points towards TI qualification, we're revisiting the International 11 qualifiers format to offset that bias as follows. The TI qualifiers will be played as originally planned, with the top team from each region qualifying to TI. Second and third place from each region's qualifier will then compete in a LAN event shortly afterwards, prior to the International. Out of those 12 teams, first and second place will qualify to the International 11. So a LAN wildcard, like we talked about. As there are more teams qualifying for the International this season, the International 11 will feature 20 teams, 2 groups of 10 during group stage. 4 teams will be eliminated, and main event will carry on as it has past Internationals. And then they conclude with saying that this is unique to this season. We'll see, though, if it will be that way for future years, or if they will open up to having 20 teams more often. Because I think it's good regardless. And I think that wildcard tournament is going to have a lot of eyes on it.
I don't think anybody but possibly Valve would disagree with you. Like, I think everybody, once this happens again, they're going to be clamoring for it, and I think Valve will appease everybody and just continue to do that. That's my guess.
This is a good way to cover their bases, to not guarantee that this is the future of TI, so that they can...
Right. And I think one reason to do this is just in case, like, it's like a catch-all for any potential, you can call it balance issues within the DPC rules with certain regions. getting a little bit
Mhm.
more love and taking advantage of that, as we saw last year with, not to hound on them, but South America got quite a few slots because of the way it was working. Alliance got in despite not, so teams like Tundra and Nigma didn't
Right.
end up going, where this would give them that good opportunity to do so. So
Mhm.
then by having this catch-all, you're going to have less people criticize any rules within the DPC. So I think it's a win-win, other than
Yep.
the extra cost from Valve's perspective,
Yeah.
which compared to the Battle Pass is literally nothing. So don't see that as an issue. I mean, we don't need to rehash what we talked about last week, but this is like the TI qualifier stuff into the wild card is amazing. I think both of
Yep.
you and I think it's a 10 out of 10. The tournament that we're going to be seeing in mid-February is better than nothing. Obviously, a huge disappointment compared to what the major could have been. Um, so I don't think there's much more to be said
I
about that other than
If you remember when we talked about this a couple of weeks back when the major got cancelled, we were debating whether you could have NA, SA play each other, Western Eastern Europe play each other, and China, SEA play each other. With the wording of this and the way Valve looks at it, they really want to totally eliminate ping from being any sort of factor.
mm,
Um, and I can respect that. It's one of those moments here where I feel like, like this is going to be an exception. It's a tricky situation. What is better and more fair? Is that playing literally one region, or is it playing two regions across with some ping,
mm,
which will not be identical to all the players like it is on LAN, of course. And they seem to think the absolute most important thing is that it's totally equal ground, and I respect that. I can see. The thing we talked about then was that if you did it single region, part of the problem would be the way points will be distributed, right? But now that they have a solution for that going somewhere down the line, there's no real issues with
yeah.
this.
I mean, the only real downside is it's not as exciting with having somewhat cross regional play. But the ping, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I would, if I was in charge, I would have made the same decision, even though it's
I
less
think
exciting.
EU and in NASA, I don't think maybe in NASA the problem would actually be too big. In Europe, it will be fine. Like Western and Eastern Europe can definitely play against each other on
I mean, the
playable
problem is
ping.
if you
Like
do it in
everyone can have
one,
minus
if you
50
do it for
or
two
under 50.
regions, then you have to do it for the rest, or else it's hard to
Right. That's the
balance.
problem. So, and I guess NASA is also like some players will have 100 plus ping. So
Yeah.
honestly, I do think this is probably a better solution overall. So I'm pretty happy with it.
Yep.
I think.
And then they finished the blog post. I don't even remember if you said this. We expect the rest of the year to go as planned. We are announcing information on the second and third major in a few weeks. Additionally, patch 7.31 will be released soon after the regional finals end. So we have to wait until
Probably end
February
February
20th
28th.
to 20. So that during that stretch,
Oh, is it a leap year this year?
I
It's
don't know.
not.
So 28.
Well, they didn't say February. They could have said end February, but they're covering their bases once again.
Soon after the regional finals end. That's true. Fuck
What
me,
is
dude.
soon?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been playing. I don't think I've played actual regular Dota in a few weeks, actually, if I'm being totally honest. I've been playing a lot of custom games recently because I'm working on one myself, so I want to get like research and one up. But I haven't really felt the itch because I feel like I'm just waiting for this patch, and now it's like 3 weeks away minimum. Feels
Yeah.
bad. Feels pretty bad. But it is what it is. I mean, would you be against it coming out before this big tournament? Because that would suck too for the pro players, right?
No, I definitely think they could have dropped it when the regions were over.
Oh, so you would have been fine with, yeah, that's like 3 weeks to prepare, I guess.
Yeah,
Three and a half
that's
weeks.
enough. I think they could have dropped it for that.
So that means it's just
But
not
it wasn't
ready.
ready, so then obviously no. Like it's better to not
Yeah.
drop the patch than drop some absolute buggy and imbalanced mess, right? Of course, like you want the content to actually be good when it comes out, but
Yeah.
if it was ready, then I don't know what my sweet spot is for how much time you should give pros before an important tournament or an important event to prepare. I think anything over 2 weeks is probably fine. And over 3 weeks, it is definitely fine.
Mm.
That's a lot of time to scrim and learn, and obviously it's not going to be figured out, right? But a patch also isn't figured out after 2 months, so it's about who gets the good ideas, who showcases it on the big stage. There's always going to be surprises. and a meta of every tournament. So I think it'll be fine.
Yep, very true. I'm actually going to YOLO this, and we're going to change the topic to the DPC results. I'm going to add an image to my
Okay.
OBS. There we go. So everybody can see, it's easy.
Oh, wow.
Not to say we don't love sponsors, but when we don't have sponsors, we can put a huge ass graphic in the middle and it doesn't block anything important because our faces don't matter.
This podcast is sponsored by the DPC League.
That's right. So let's go to the
Thank you,
results.
Dota Pro Circuit.
Western Europe, we have Liquid number 1, Tickles number 2, Tundra. This was after a big tiebreaker situation. Tundra ends up winning it, so they get 3rd. OG 4th. So those are the teams that will be playing in this regional finals, whatever the hell it's called. That means Alliance and Cool Guys get relegated. Alliance is maybe the more surprising one just from an organization standpoint. And promoted is Entity and Brame, who were in Div 1, if I'm not mistaken, the season prior. So they're back to where they started. Any surprises in the EU region or anything you want to discuss with tiebreakers?
I think the tiebreakers went differently than both of us expected, right? We had Secret and Nigma as our choices for getting top 4, and they lost
that's
both
right.
of them. So that was another SAP segment.
Yeah, pretty much.
Aside from that, I mean, not too surprising. I do want to mention, though, when you look at how many DPC points the teams are getting, to give some perspective here, if OG win this regional finals and Liquid get bottom 2 out of the 4 teams, OG has more points after getting 4th in the division. So it just gives some perspective, right? Because you get 250 for winning, so they would be up to 310, and Liquid would be on 300 if they don't get top 2.
Right. Okay.
So the balance in the region can shift a lot in terms of the initial points now.
Yeah, makes sense.
At the same time, if Liquid win out, they make a significant gap down to the next teams because they would have 550. And the highest possible second team would be if Tickles got second, at which point they would have 310, and everyone else would be miles behind. So there's a lot at stake here for all teams, which is what you want to see, right? They have a lot to play for. Even though it's this small online tournament, it actually matters a lot for potential TI down the road. So that's good.
Yep. And we move on to China, where LGD, no surprise, number 1, followed by RNG, Aster, and eHome, which means the 2 teams, which we talked about briefly last week, to go out are Phoenix Gaming and the surprising IG with basically the same roster minus 1 player. Very crazy. And they're going to be replaced by Extreme Gaming and Team Magma.
Yep.
And then on to Eastern Europe. I'm trying not to. People don't want to be called CIS. I actually don't know the reasons why, but I guess we're going to call it Eastern Europe.
I think it's because some of the teams playing in the region aren't in the actual CIS.
Oh, I see.
So it's not all encompassing, I think.
So number 1 is Team Spirit, followed by PuckChamp, VP, and Hellraisers. PuckChamp obviously not sponsored as of yet, but we talked about it last week. Teams like Navi or any of these big CI or Eastern European orgs.
Or Gambit.
Gambit as well, as they drop to lower div along with Empire. I mean, Empire is another one of those.
Gambit and Empire relegated from Div 1.
And they are replaced by CIS Rejects and Windstrike Team.
Yeah. CIS Rejects will probably be the most known team here in terms of players. If you haven't been following CIS too much, it has a lot of the old stars, basically. It's the team with, let me see here, Ramses, Pasha, Roger, FNG. And then finally on mid, they have Depressed Kid, who will hopefully cheer up now he's in Division 1. So maybe he'll rename to Kid.
Is that the opposite of Depressed Kid?
Yeah, nobody's going to be happy right now, you fucking kid.
Elated Kid. Would like to see it. Then on to SCA, where Boom is number 1, followed by Fnatic, T1, and Team SMG. Teams that are out are Motivate Trust and TNC Predator. Replacing them are Polaris Esports and Enigma Galaxy SEA.
Did Polaris end up even losing a game? They were dominating. Hang on, let me see.
I don't have the results up other than
Polaris went 7-0.
Oh wow. Okay.
Full Filipino team.
Oh, that's great.
Only recognizable name on there for me is Natsumi. And no, Lelouch as well, I guess. But yeah, some up and coming stuff, or people that have changed nicknames. I might just be ignorant here.
You're always ignorant.
But yeah, impressive.
On to NA,
Very
Quincy
impressive.
Crew end up losing to EG, but didn't matter because they beat everybody else. So number 1 for them. Undying, which we'll get to soon, followed by EG and 4 Zoomers. So that's going to be a pretty awesome little like regional tournament.
Did you think
Unfortunately,
Undying was going to win that tiebreaker? They 2-0'd EG after EG was
no.
on a
I
great path suddenly.
I did not think they were going to, no.
They were on a
Maybe that,
tear. They just 2-0'd Quincy, Undying, and 4 Zoomers, right?
yeah.
EG's last 3 series, and then
Yeah, it
lost the tie for 60 DPC points, essentially.
it's a
And
big deal
bit
for
of
sure.
cash.
The teams that go out are sadly Arkosh and even more surprising, Black and Yellow, which we talked about last time, which looked way better than Simply 2 based, but they end up losing the head-to-head matchup, so they're out, which means they'll probably break up, honestly. Like these NA teams, they don't stay together for too long. The teams that will replace them are The Cut and Team Dog Champ. So finally, Lukey, wait, is Lukey on that team still?
I love those.
What they're
Fucking Division 1 has Puck Champ and Dog Champ.
That's true.
What is this shit?
It's good shit, man. I love it.
Oh my god.
You're easily amused. And then lastly, SA, we have Thunder Predator number 1, followed by Infamous, Beast Coast, and APU King of Kings. Okay.
Yep.
And the teams that are relegated are No Ping and SG, which coming into the season, just based on name alone, would not have expected. They'll be
But totally
replaced.
different rosters on both teams,
Yes,
right?
totally different. Wait, where did the No Ping roster go? Actually, do you know?
Hang on.
Either way, the promoted teams that are replacing them are Infinity and Balrog's Esports. That's a cool name. And their logo's cool too. Although I don't know why Balrogs is plural. Shouldn't it just be Balrog Esports?
Not if there's more than one of them.
Yeah, but it sounds weird with the S.
It does. So correct me if I'm wrong. Last season, No Ping did that team have Oscar, Matthew, and Dark Mago? Was that team?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I'm trying to remember. I feel like that was No Ping. That's Thunder Predator now.
Oh, okay.
But was it them? I think so.
That's true. Thunder Predator after TI obviously broke up, right? So after going winless. Okay. All right. So that is the DPC update. So let's
I might be wrong. Whatever.
move on to a couple of, let me get rid of this graphic there before I forget so you can see our beautiful faces. A couple of short topics. So Undying has been officially sponsored by TSM. That is a huge sponsorship. So congratulations to them. Somewhat surprising to some that it's not Quincy Crew, but I love Jack and I hope to God that they find somebody. But through this DPC, Undying looked like the better team, in my opinion, even though they had a worse record. Does that make sense? Like the game that they lost to Quincy Crew, even though they lost 2-1, I still felt like they were the better team. They just fucked up like real bad in that game 3. And they've been together longer. Like Quincy Crew is basically, it's just 2 players plus 3, I think, right? 3 different players. So in terms of like sticking together, it ends up working out. And like we said, TSM, I'm trying to remember, have they ever had a Dota roster? I feel like maybe they had one briefly. No?
I don't think so.
Because back in the day, it was not allowed to have one when you had a league team. So that was the restriction for a long time, to my knowledge.
Oh, was it actually?
So I don't know if I have complete confirmation, but that's what I heard like years ago. But
so
it could
Riot
be wrong,
wanted exclusivity
as far as I know,
for the org. But didn't EG have Dota and League at the same time? I think they did.
Wasn't that semi recently though? Something must have changed, or that information is just wrong. Either way,
I don't recall this.
Congratulations to Moon Meander and the rest of those boys. Great to see an NA team get sponsored. Hoping that Quincy Crew is next.
Don't you find it surprising that this is when TSM enters? Like, this is also what some people are discussing. Like, in terms of timing for doing this, it seems like a strange timing, right? The major got canceled, or well, reformed, rebuilt. TI is far away. Undying were there before last TI. If you wanted to enter into the Dota space, TI is the event,
Right.
and that would have been a really big opportunity, right?
Hmm.
So, what do you think is the reason? Is it because they have extra financing now that they didn't have, so they couldn't afford a Dota team? Is there some sort of bigger perspective in the game that we're missing that is suddenly there for orgs that they
I'm
didn't have last year?
I'm guessing like another round of funding or something
Oh,
where they need to. I mean, it's just a
probably.
complete guess, but I mean, not to be that guy, but Dota's not exactly the most attractive thing for sponsors or orgs, as we've talked about.
But that's why it's so good to see that it still happens,
Yes.
that these orgs invest, because hopefully that, is inspiring and it builds.
So keep in mind, we don't know the
Builds that.
deal or like any details. So this might not be like a regular, like full fledged thing, meaning maybe they're paid for boot camps and occasionally they like when they do boot camps, it'll be at like the TSM offices or whatever. And maybe there's like very little salary, because it is NA. Or maybe it's like an EG thing where it's just everything, which I hope that it is. But
I
there's no
think
real way to know.
I think an org like TSM is big enough that I don't think they would skimp out on that, for reputation reasons as well, right? Like there's a certain level of expectation for these orgs of this size for what they deliver for the players. I don't think providing quote unquote the bare minimum is something that their brand would stand for.
Yeah.
Do you know if it's still they just are called TSM, right? Like Team Solo Mid is not the name of the team anymore, right? They just scrapped that.
I have no. I just know that the
Or is
tag
it kind of like
includes.
Navi where there is an actual old name, blah blah blah, but then everybody just uses the short handle?
I don't know. I
Okay.
know that FTX is like their title sponsor and it's in the name as well. So technically
Yeah.
it's FTX TSM, which I'm saying
TSM
this
FTX,
now. I
yeah.
will not be saying that. I'm just going to say TSM.
Dude, imagine saying that during casts. TSM FTX, I'll fuck it up half the time. At
Well,
least
some
60%.
people some people like to say the whole names of the team every time. PSG LGD. I find that annoying as well,
That's a
honestly.
lot easier to say than TSM FTX, though.
It is. It is easier. Looking forward to that one though. Okay. Next thing is a little news about Weeha. So Kelly, who is one of the co-owners of Alliance, tweeted the following: "To set the record straight, Wee is an amazing player, but as rumors have been true, he is religious and is against betting sponsors. VBet are huge Dota fans and fund a majority of our Dota 2 salaries. We can't do our sponsors dirty like that. They barely ask for any in return already. I tried to reach a compromise with him and only asked to put the tag in game, no banners or jersey placements, especially for him, but he still said no. So don't waste your time as we won't waste others. We respect him immensely for his choice, but don't suggest obvious names." So obviously a lot of people are tweeting out to Alliance looking for
Mhm.
replacements. And I was under the impression, and I think we kind of theorized that Weeha could be like from the original roster before the DPC started, could be part of that squad, along with Soxa, which I don't know what the hell's going on with him.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, he got rank 1 on the leaderboards. He's probably busy with that.
yeah, true. So this came as a surprise
Time for
because
Pro Bowl.
when he was on DC, we had betting sponsors. So something has changed, which, I mean, that's great to have like your moral compass set like this for sure. And I respect Weeha. He's one of my, like I said, one of my favorite people. And by the way, if you guys watch his stream, make sure two things. Number one, annoy the shit out of him that he's not using the Dota 2 tooltips extension. Number
True.
two, annoy him that he needs to come on the podcast. He thinks that
Mhm.
nobody wants. Like I've asked him 3 different times now, and he was going to come on because he thought he was going to join a team, probably Alliance. And now that he didn't, he's like, nobody's going to care. Like, dude,
I
people
care.
still want you to come on the podcast. So convince him on his stream. One of my favorite
Hey,
players of all time. So respect him immensely with like the choices and whatnot. Go ahead.
Shannon, there's one last option here that you haven't considered. What if, since we has played in a team before with betting sponsors, he's actually not against it, but he just needed any excuse to not join Alliance?
Well, we'll find out if he joins another team with a betting
What a
sponsor.
look that would be.
That would be the ultimate troll right there. So I never
He's
knew that
really committed to it.
I never knew that he was religious. I mean, we didn't really get into that stuff when he was on DC. We definitely had betting sponsors, so that is something that's changed. And this is going to kind of bleed into another topic that we'll talk about after this SAP segment coming up. But I feel like, and again, respect all that stuff. It is going to be very hard to be on a team without a betting sponsor.
Yes.
Like everywhere you go in not just Dota, but esports, there's going to be sketchy stuff. Sometimes it's not sketchy. There's betting companies that are not sketchy for sure.
Mhm.
But there's going to be sketchy stuff basically everywhere you go. And that's just sadly is the reality. So he's going to have a hard time finding a team if that's even what he wants, because he gets a shit ton of viewers when he streams. Could become a full-time streamer if he really wants to do that too. So
Yep.
it will be difficult. But we wish him luck. And please come on the show. Please. For God's sake, I'm sick of talking to Cinder and all alone.
We will not have a betting sponsor on the episodes you're on.
That's true. That would be funny if we only get for one episode. It's the one.
If he says yes, we'll go out of our way to get a betting sponsor for that episode.
We just won't tell him. It'll be a surprise. You think it would be the first guest to walk out on an episode? All right, let's move on to the SAP segment, ladies and gentlemen. Let me get my question ready for you, Cinderin. Cinderin, after all these weeks, still 0 answers correct, and I have 1. So I am crushing him by infinity %.
This is the 15th SAP question you're giving me.
Yes.
The 15th. I've been wrong 14 times in a row on a 4 multiple choice.
That's right.
We need an updated odds if I get it wrong again today for what the odds are with random selection of getting it wrong 15 times in a row. If I get it wrong, but I will get it right today. I feel it. I have a feeling, Shannon. I'm having an ESP moment.
I'm having an ESP moment.
It's
I think
C.
You're going to get this correct. It's C. Okay, so you're picking C ahead of time?
No, because I don't believe in ESP. Give me the question.
In this patch, which Aghanim scepter has been purchased the most times? So we're talking about raw amount. Okay?
Okay.
So that makes things easier, theoretically, unless there's a trickiness to this question. Is it Puck, Void Spirit, Invoker, which is C, by the way, or Gyrocopter?
And this is for what games? Ticketed games 7.07
Ticketed games,
and onward.
The most purchased ags for a specific hero. Puck, Void Spirit, Invoker, Gyro.
Okay, Void Spirit is too new. It's not B.
Wait, hold on. What do you mean Void Spirit? I'm talking about this patch.
Oh, this patch.
This
I
patch.
thought you said ticketed games for. Okay, that's why I asked
Ticketed
7.07 and on.
games in this patch.
This patch.
Yes, I could have.
Shit.
Just want to get the correct.
This is really. These are all really good picks. They're all top 10.
These are the top 4, just jumbled up in terms of order.
Okay, they're all top 4.
Yes.
Okay.
I made this as difficult as possible.
Dude.
Remember, it's not percentage because Chad is saying like it's
Void
raw
Spirit,
amount.
Puck, Invoker, Gyro. What's the least banned of these that gets played a lot? Puck was banned for a while. Invoker doesn't get Ags every game. Void Spirit gets Ags basically every game, but he's banned a bit. I'm going with Void Spirit, Shannon. I want to get 15 wrong in a row.
Void Spirit is incorrect. The correct answer was C, Invoker.
What the fuck? I believe in ESP now. I knew it.
All right, just to give the raw numbers, 4th place was Gyro with 3,642, Puck 3,748, Void Spirit 4,809, Invoker 4,864. So just slightly ahead.
1% more
of Void Spirit. Technically correct is the best kind of correct.
Dude, I'm still blown away by my ability to be wrong every time.
All right.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if I want to be wrong or right. I don't know what's better.
It's better for the show that you suck at this.
But I'm actually trying to be right. That's what makes it so
I am
funny.
going to take a 2-0 lead on you here. Okay. ESP kicking in. Okay.
All right. Here is my question for you.
Okay.
Who has the most lifetime denies? And by lifetime, that is, our usual frame of reference, 7.07 and onward.
Okay.
Is it A, Era, B, Dendi, C, Resolution, or D, Illidan?
Era. Final answer.
Was that an ESP moment?
No, I just randomly guessing.
Good, because it's incorrect. So your ESP
Is
would
it
be
Illidan?
also wrong.
Is it Resolution?
Nope, it is Dendi. Good job.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Well, good effort to me, everybody. We are so shit at this. It's unbelievable. All right.
I'll give you the rankings as well. So
Good Lord.
all time, Dendi wins by a mile. By the way,
That's shocking.
It's not even
actually.
close.
That is
So
shocking.
Dendi first place, about 33,000 denies. Resolution is second with 26.5.
Wow.
Era is fourth with 25.4, and Illidan is sixth with 24.5. So Dendi dwarfs them all in denies.
Impressive. Truly impressive. Okay. Let's move on as we continue to suck ass at this segment, brought to you by the great SAP.
It makes SAP look good.
That's true. We have the community question. So last week we asked, what is the core hero that has the highest win rate when played as support? The correct answer was, in fact, Spectre with 73% win rate in only 15 games played. Pretty high win rate, actually, even though it's a small sample size. In case you're wondering, Meepo was second place with 68% in 19 games, and Tinker 66% in 47 games. The best
Your guess
win
was
rate.
OD, you got sixth?
Right. So I said OD, which was sixth place with 58% in 55 games. Cinderin said PA, which is the bottom third. SAP, you guys can't see. They're talking shit about Cinderin, how bad he is at this. Bottom third, win rate of 48%. Garbage answer, obviously. A lot of people said basically nobody got it correct. So in essence, I was correct. Actually, that's not true. One person had a better guess than OD, which was Tinker. But they did not say hashtag SAP Esports, so they're disqualified. Sorry to that person. You don't deserve a shout out. I win. SUNSfan wins. Thank you. And now on to the next question for the following week. This is from Games for Falling Asleep. I think this is a Patreon person, isn't it?
Yep.
He asks, his original question, of course, is what is the hero/pro player with most creep per minute average over one game? So not the best average farmer, or not the average best farmer, but the fastest instance ever. So the correct answer, because there's two parts to this, is Jackie/Jackboys from Motivate.Trust Gaming. So instead of guessing the person, which we already know who it is, you guys need to guess the CS per minute that he had. And this is since May 2012, so 6.87. So whatever your answer is, type, remember, you don't want to get disqualified like that one noob we didn't even name, hashtag SAP Esports, and then the number dot, and you can go 2 decimal points, let's say. All right. Do you have a guess, Cinderin?
Highest CS per minute in one game.
Yeah.
$16.
Just flat 16.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to say 15.64.
99.
No, 15.64. Okay. That is my answer. So good luck to everybody. Remember to type that in the YouTube comments below. And as always, we appreciate you clicking on the link in the description to check out more about SAP Esports, as it does help us as well. Next topic.
I wonder when this was. So it's not a secret that in Dota there's been like power creep, right? Over the years. So I think this record is it's probably from 2021. Right? This record can't be old.
Why?
Because the amount of farm that people found 3 years ago doesn't compare. Like the CS per minute is just higher now than it used to be.
It's higher on average, but is it higher for the cores? Like for the position 1? Like on average, but in a vacuum, like what if one
should be higher?
No, whatever. We'll find out. All right, next topic.
I think this record's from this year.
Is the ESL news. So ESL and Faceit, I mean, there's 2 announcements, I guess. They're merging. So that's interesting. And they are being purchased by a Saudi investment group. So this is what I kind of wanted to talk about with the whole Weehaw thing. So obviously the Saudi group, I haven't really read into this that much. It's the it's a public investment fund that has to do with the Saudi Arabian government, and obviously, the Saudi Arabian government has a lot of sketchy stuff that they've done, aka killing a journalist. Um, and obviously, Saudi Arabia in general not great with the human rights thing. For your, you know, I've talked about this before. I literally was born in Saudi Arabia and I lived there for
Hmm.
10 years, so I witnessed a lot of it firsthand. Obviously, in some respects, it's a third world country, but they are rich as fuck as well, so it's weird.
Hmm.
Um, but if you look at everywhere in esports, and it's probably just not esports, but there's sketchy stuff. This is my impression. There's sketchy stuff everywhere. You look
Hmm.
at certain regions like Russia, Ukraine, like there's rumors as how people are getting money through like weird means, let's say. Uh, there's, I mean, it doesn't matter where you go, there's always going to be something sketchy with like betting companies. I would say if you're going to pick one, not to, single out anybody, if you had to pick one country that is the, I don't know if sketchy is even the right word, but you know what I mean when I say that, is China
Hmm.
has like the worst track record with anything. So Saudi Arabia is not that much better, but it's just one of those things that I feel like there's nothing that can be done. It is what it is. Um, but to our knowledge, I mean, we had a meeting with ESL because they wanted to, be upfront with everybody, and the consensus was that nothing's really going to change. Which who knows if that's actually true? It's it's weird. Like being
Yeah.
bought like for $1.5 billion. That's a lot of money, and it feels like stuff's going to change, but I'm sure the employees don't know because nothing's been like this is going to take like 2 months in and of itself just to go through, right?
Yeah.
So
Part
what?
of the yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm done. What's your
Okay.
impressions of this?
Yeah, I was gonna say like part of the moral dilemma, and the thing that people working in the industry in situations like this are faced with is that if you're against what a lot of the things that Saudi Arabia stand for, which we are, right? Like discrimination against women and homosexuals, or you know that just among some of the things that a lot of Western countries would take a very clear distance from. Um, you can have like political qualms with the country and their political decisions, but the fact of the matter is that these countries that you disagree with on a fundamental level hold, like you said, a lot of power in things that you do interact with. So you kind of need to make the decision: am I cutting ties with this over something the country thinks, or am I still, doing my thing for what it is? And when it comes to the examples that you used, like China or Saudi Arabia, a lot of the stuff that you interact with in your everyday life is part, if not majority, owned by these countries. But that doesn't mean that their country's ideologies are enforced on the product.
Right, and
So
keep in mind, United
that's what's
States
kind of
is
important
also
here.
you could put the United States in the same cat. They've done a lot of
True.
like we've done a
Sure.
lot of shitty ass stuff,
Yeah.
but it doesn't stop
You
me
just have
from
better
using.
PR in the media. But yeah, the United States are
No, we're definitely
not
not innocent.
depths.
So
Absolutely
for
not.
people
So,
that want to like boycott like working with ESL,
mhm.
which I don't think is going to probably happen, I would assume. Like same with like the WeHa not doing, but I immensely respect people for doing that. But it doesn't diminish. What's the right way to put it? I don't look down on people that kind of ignore that because you can't like. There's just so much
it's
injustice around the world, and it's like I don't know how to put
it's
this in
kind of
words.
impossible to avoid it. Like you can take stands where you want to,
Yeah,
but I will guarantee that basically everybody in a westernized country, if you're very much against China or very much against Saudi Arabia and you want to avoid everything that they profit from entirely, there's not much left for you to enjoy.
hmm.
Like it's just the ownership across the world of big countries. What do you know? Big companies across the world, across different countries. There we go. Is very widespread. So I think something that's really important with this is the way it gets handled, right? Because it's one thing to have ownership. Ownership is very different than sponsorship because the whoever is the owner of this group is trying to profit off something that is run abroad, and obviously a part of it clearly from a seems to be also of a political nature. Like Saudi Arabia is getting involved with different like sports to possibly try to, for political reasons, look better on the global scene. But from a profit perspective, um, being the owner versus being a sponsor means that they invest into this, but like you said earlier, there's no direct connection between them owning this and the product changing. So it's not like there's suddenly going to be advertisements or propaganda on the ESL channels to, change everyone's minds around about Saudi Arabia or whatever. Because then I think the perspective for talent would be very different as well, right? Or everyone here, if suddenly you're endorsing a country that you don't agree with, but it's strictly the ownership. I think that's important to separate and talk about because obviously the community, at least parts of the community, are very, very negative about this, and I don't think it's just a clean thing, 100%. But it's also not literal hell in Dota all of a sudden.
Yeah, even though this isn't the best comparison, although it is connected in some degree. Like after the whole Saudi Arabia killing that journalist thing. Well, first of all, we should mention obviously the government being involved makes this a little weirder than just a company like Tencent. But then
Right,
again,
Tencent, right? Yeah.
Tencent has a lot of sway with the government anyway, so maybe there's not that much difference. But I don't know the details for that.
Mhm.
But to try to make up for the PR that it was the disaster of the journalist getting stuffed in a fucking suitcase and all that bullshit, they ran some shit like Saudi Arabia helped, like they gave a bunch of money to charity. So it's like this weird quandary for these like organizations that are taking this money. It's like technically this money will be used for good, but it's from a source that is not great. So there's like a weird quandary there, right? And I know that ESL, they're big into like making sure everybody, like there's a lot of diversity, the GLHF thing, like with toxicity and whatnot. And, we were told that they're going to continue doing that stuff. So again, impossible to see the future, but based on
Right.
how things have gone in the past with, again, this is kind of unprecedented. So maybe that's not the best way to put it, but things as similar as you can get that have been purchased in this manner, not that much really ends up changing.
Right.
But who the
If
hell
this
knows?
Right, if this starts becoming like some sort of big, all of a sudden becoming very political, I think the perspective is going to change a lot
Right.
for a lot of people. But if it's ownership and things keep running as they are, and there are people from Saudi Arabia or China or whatever country you may disagree with that have ownership, that is kind of the same as a lot of other companies that you enjoy quote unquote content from, whether it's stuff you eat, watch, use for transport, like whatever it is, then it's no different from a lot of other things basically that you interact with. So.
Yep. Okay. Next thing on the list is Dragon's Blood review. Have you finished
Yes.
watching it?
Yes.
Okay. So, going to say this now. This will not be a spoiler-free review of Dragon's Blood, the anime from Netflix. If you're listening, if you're watching, and you have not seen it and you don't want it spoiled, please mute or just skip the section if you're watching the VOD. If you're watching live, I will wave my hands when we are done. I'll do this. Okay, wash on, wash off. I don't know what that's supposed to signify. Don't look into it any further. This will be spoilers ahead. Okay. Cinder, I've warned you guys ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
So what?
Yes.
Tell me your review because I gave my number and I'm going to go through specifics when it's my turn to talk with what I
You give
liked
it
and what I didn't.
5.5 out of 10, right?
Yeah, I thought it was terrible. Yep, go ahead.
I'm trying to remember what I rated the first season.
Probably like an 8.
Did I give it that high? I'm not sure. Maybe I did. 7.5, something like that. I think the second season started out pretty slow, but I thought especially the last 3 episodes were maybe some of the best of the show. And similar to last season, there's still like a lot of there's a lot of things that go unexplained or happen really fast, or moments that are big that are on screen for 5 seconds and don't really play out fully, but where you just make up the gaps yourself. Or it would have been nice to have every episode be 5 minutes longer so that the creators have more possibilities of illustrating and showing important information. But yeah, overall, I think for me, this season is as good as season 1, if not slightly better. So whatever score I gave it back then, give it that plus 0.5. I just don't remember what it was.
Okay.
and it wasn't really different in pacing, right? It feels like it's kind of that's what we thought was maybe going to change, was that maybe the episodes would be, a little bit more fleshed out or whatever. It still goes really, really fast. And I feel like sometimes you kind of just want to pause and just think for a second because really important things are happening. And sometimes you don't know why, and sometimes you may know why, but you know why because of 2 seconds of something that happened 3 episodes ago. That something big is happening that's really important. So it makes it challenging, in my opinion, for the audience to really follow exactly why the story is unfolding as it is. And honestly, if you really delve into it, maybe it doesn't fully make sense why it unfolds the way it does, which is, not good writing in that case. But I was entertained, honestly, especially in the latter half. So I didn't think it was as bad as you did.
I'm happy to hear that, Cinder. And when I go absolute ham in just a moment here, I just want you to remember that I don't think less of you for liking it. I'm actually envious that you were able to enjoy it because I thought it was complete dog shit. The only
And then
reason
you
I
still
gave
gave
it,
it 5.5.
well, I give it 5.5 because if there's another season, I will continue to watch it. So if it
Okay.
basically if it's above 5, I will stomach it if I feel the need, which it's Dota related, so I will watch it. So it can't be lower
Okay.
than 5.5. That's the lowest I can go. So back to the pacing. I thought the pacing was somehow worse than season 1. The pacing was
Maybe it was actually slightly worse. I think you're
the
right.
pacing in season 1 was really bad, and we talked about this. I'm like, it's season 1, that's okay. They didn't have the greatest budget. They didn't know if there's going to be season 2 maybe. They're introducing a bunch of stuff. Forgiven. Season 2, some fucking how they top themselves, and the pacing
That is true.
is beyond fucking garbage. It's the shittiest pacing of literally any show I have ever seen, and I watch a lot of stuff. The worst pacing of all fucking time. Cutscene after cutscene, like Marana doing that one fight where she takes over for Luna, and it's just like literally 2 drawn pictures, and the fights are. What the fuck is going on in this show, dude? They're
Yeah,
all
it's
over the
so
place.
fast. That's insane.
In addition to that, stuff that could have been improved from last season, maybe they didn't watch any of these shows where we reviewed it. Dialogue, still horrible. My God, could you have worse writers in this show? Dog shit dialogue. Voice acting, some of them were really good, but the contrast between them and the people that were beyond terrible is embarrassing for a show that is on fucking Netflix. My God, terrible voice acting from so many people, with a few exceptions, of course, that were really good. It's like, and that's
What
the
do you
thing.
think there's really good voice acting in that show?
Well, the Slyrack is great. I mean, that guy's a pro. I fucking love that guy. I didn't write down who I thought. I put the show out of my mind, if I'm being honest.
Just think of one more.
Invoker, I think Invoker has good voice acting. I like him.
Okay.
Like some of the characters, like anything that there's a couple Australian characters that are just, it's so cringy how bad the accent is. Like I don't understand. Anyway,
What do you think about Kashura as a character?
Who is
and
that?
The voice acting for that.
Who
guy?
is that?
The guy who turns into the big purple dude in the end.
Oh, his voice acting was fine. And I thought it was going to
I
be
think that was probably the highlight of this season, right? Was the Kashura reveal, like how he plays, and you kind of had this feeling that this guy who holds this like political sidelines is really powerful, but you don't really know why.
Yeah.
I thought that mystery was interesting, and then it just I liked that character. I thought it was.
In addition to, I'm gonna do a lot of negatives and then a couple of good things. Okay. The first like half of the fucking thing, it felt like I was watching The Witcher. You saw The Witcher, right? It's like the same story where you go to this dragon's den and you have these like Witcher type characters. They have this like honor system, this bond with each other. It's like literally watching the same show. Like, find something more interesting to show, for God's sake. Maybe that's just bad timing with The Witcher coming out, but you should know this years in advance what's coming out for Netflix. I literally started. In addition to that, I thought the storyline in general very weak and uninteresting. I think Invoker is the most interesting character by far, and he's barely shown. Instead, you're focusing on worthless fucking Dragon Knight, who the most boring character you could have chosen in the entire show anyway. The dragon stuff can sometimes be interesting, but they only show glimpses. It's like most of the stuff they're showing, to me, very uninteresting and uninspired. there was a part where you're not supposed to laugh, but I literally burst out laughing. There was like a picture of Sand King, and then nothing after. You don't see him ever again. It's just a picture of fucking Sand King. I was raffling at how fucking stupid that is to show Sand King he's not actually a character. Okay, stupid.
There are other Dota heroes in the show, but they die.
Invoker cannot Sunstrike properly. This one has been talked about a lot.
Oh yeah.
That's a very simple thing that obviously they've never played the game before, but they could have had somebody consult them ahead of time. The noses drawn still suck absolute ass, and it still really bothers me, these noses that they draw. Terrible. The overall animation...
In all fairness, Shannon, when you try to Sunstrike, you do use Quaswex and Exord when you play Invoker. So it's like, it's trying to connect with the audience on how they play Invoker.
I mean, of all the things that bother me, this is the least of them. The noses, though, that's on the top of the list. I hate them with a passion. It makes me mad every time I see them. The overall animation, which I thought would improve from season 1, was basically the same. Not really any improvement. Still pretty meh. Let's talk about the characters Lena, Wyvern, and CM. So CM, CM's kind of a generic character. She was whatever. When she was writing Wyvern, I got irrationally angry because it was just because we watched like the show in 2 days, right? So the first day, that's where it ended. And she's literally writing another hero. Just something seemed really wrong with that. But Wyvern as a character was fine. She turns into a human, which is weird. It has nothing to do with her actual skill set. Not sure how I feel about that. Kind of neutral on it, if I'm being honest. Lena was evil and annoying. Her voice acting was terrible. And she died. Nobody gives a shit. That's another thing. Like, the characters died. Nobody really gives a shit. That means you have not done good character building at all, period. It's like trying to be George R.R. Martin killing people, except in those shows, like, you form attachments to these characters. Ned Stark, people were shocked. They loved this character. It's like literally their favorite character. Lena, nobody gives a shit if she dies because she's a worthless fucking character nobody gives a shit about. Next, Pangolier, which isn't Pangolier, apparently. I had to look up his name. It is not the same character. So instead of having a hero that's interesting, Pangolier, as a French musketeer type character, you come out with a different one entirely that takes up a good chunk of the show, has the same accent, has the same skills, but it's not Pango. Why the fuck is it not Pango? Why? Because maybe it's because they only want new characters from Dota to die in the show, and they don't want this fake Pangolier to die. Stupid fucking decision.
With you. That is actually pretty fucking weird.
Stupid fucking decision after stupid decision. Okay, my friend Zeno brought this up, and I completely agree. Dragon Knight, the character, the guy, Davian, his story arc has literally not changed since episode 1 of season 1. He is still this idiotic guy that seems nice, and he has this dragon inside him, not sure what to do with it, and now we're at the end of season 2. It's exactly the fucking same. Nothing has changed at all. And Slyrak, when he turns like, oh, I've turned into a big dragon, and then I lose literally every fight. You are useless. You're supposed to be powerful, and you're useless. Terrible, terrible character, boring as fuck. And last thing,
the voice acting's good.
The dragon is good voice acting. And the last thing, Cinderin, which is a positive, Caden is the best character in the show. He better be the next hero. That guy is awesome. His blade is cool. His cheesy lines that a lot of people may not like actually fit his character. Great character. Loved him. Basically the only thing I liked about the show other than Invoker, but that didn't change from season 1. So that's my review.
What do you think about Kashura as a possible hero?
I know we just talked about that. Oh, the guy. Yeah,
Purple Void.
When I saw him turn into that big creature, I'm like, is this the next? That's the first thing I thought. I was like, is this the next hero? So does that mean it's a transformation
looks a bit like
hero?
Underlord, I guess, in his face, but
yeah,
still.
I mean, I was paying attention to his skill set, and he has like 20 skills, and they don't synergize at all. So yeah, I have no idea. I mean, that would be interesting, but because we do need like a darker character anyway. But Caden is the best.
feel like the community at large is really asking for a hero that's not really humanoid, or at least has like monster-like features or is evil.
Yeah, it's
I feel like he
understandable.
fits the bill pretty well.
Yeah, that's true. I
So,
wouldn't be disappointed. Okay, that's my review. Hopefully we never talk about it again
all
until
right.
season
Remember
3.
to wave.
Thank you. Wax on, wax off. Spoiler free now. Next thing on the list, as we are actually, this is a wow. Yeah. All right, we'll zip through these last ones. Valve's Steam Deck will officially launch after some delays on February 25th, Cinderin.
You ordered one of these, right?
No, we've had. Okay, you're making fun of me for dementia. We've talked about this 3 times now on the podcast. No,
Oh, it never got the FPS you wanted.
no, the Hertz. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Val, if
It's
you're
still
watching,
60 hertz only.
Val, that's right. Valve employees, if you're watching, we would love to have your product to try it out. If you don't want us to review it, then just let us know in the note that you provide with the Steam Deck. Okay?
True?
We appreciate your sponsorship. I wouldn't mind having one, but I'm not going to spend money because I feel like I don't really have much to play on it. And the whole 60 hertz thing does turn me off, but I know that I'm in the minority with that. So,
And like okay, now I think I remember this conversation. If it was 120 hertz, you would have bought it, right? I think that's what you said back then.
I would be more inclined to buy it if there was at least one game that I would play semi-consistently, like Hades, but I'm kind of done with Hades now. So, yeah. So, yeah, looking forward to that. We'll see how it goes. Next thing on the list, Cinderin, is Frost Giant. So, remember this company that was founded by a bunch of ex-Blizzard people that were actually good at their job and they left for whatever reason. They have raised $25 million to increase their team, I believe, from a 30-person team to 50. They have announced that they officially will be making an RTS using the Unreal Engine 5. And I'll just read a quote from this article that I was reading. We absolutely want to make the best RTS game possible, one that existing fans and new players alike will be excited to play on day one. The Frost Giant team is fortunate to have the benefit of learning from our experiences on StarCraft and Warcraft, and those experiences suggest some clear new directions to explore. We're also setting out to make RTS more approachable to players who may have in the past felt intimidated while still providing modes that can support world-class esports. Any thoughts on this? I mean, I know this is not like the, most thing or the.
I guess I just quickly want to mention that 2 of the people working for this company, one of them is the production director on StarCraft 2, and the other one was the lead campaign designer on Warcraft 3: The Frozen Throne. The Warcraft 3 campaign was so fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, that is a huge part of why that game was so successful. The campaign, just the basic game, single player, was the best campaign I've ever played, I think. Super, super good campaign. So that's exciting if they're working together. And hopefully that means that the campaign of this RTS that they will release eventually will have really good story. Or at least really good design, rather. So yeah, it's exciting, honestly. I feel like making an RTS nowadays is hard. I think captivating people with that sort of gameplay is, I don't know what you want to say, like what's meta right now in games is definitely not RTS. But as with many things, things can come full cycle. Now everyone has played battle royales, and then that kind of gets boring at some point. You want to play some of the old stuff. You want to play something different. Nobody has really, innovated a totally new genre, it feels like, since Battle Royale, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's like nothing that's like groundbreaking.
Auto battlers.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Although, are they actually new?
I mean,
I guess on the scale they're new.
I'd
On
never
that
seen
scale,
anything before auto chess,
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I could be wrong. And they're kind of battle royales to a degree, ish.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it Battle Royale, but I get what you mean, though. But yeah,
I'm excited as well.
It's challenging. I'm excited for an RTS if it's well done. I think that could be.
I'm more interested to see what they do with like theme of this, like this new IP that they're just creating from scratch, right? Because like as much as we hate Blizzard and the games have been shit recently, their lore is And like, I don't really care about lore, but then when you think about it, it's like maybe I do care about lore because the characters are fucking awesome from like these Blizzard games, right? They're just so historic in nature. So yeah, excited to see what they come out with. Obviously, it's not gonna be for a while, but will be interesting. All
Frost Giant
right.
and Dreamhaven are the
Yeah.
two companies I'm really curious to hear from in the next 2 years about what they're making. So this
Agreed.
is good stuff.
Last topic of the day, Blizzard, after being bought by Microsoft, they are creating a new IP and are looking for people to apply for this game, which I don't is that normal, by the way, to send a job application as your announcement for a new game? That doesn't feel normal to me. But either way, they're looking for art, design, and engineers for an unannounced survival game. So I'll be honest, Cinderin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever played a survival game. I've watched some, I guess. It doesn't really interest me in any capacity. Have you played any?
Don't really think so, no.
Okay, well, they're coming out. I was going to ask you details of what a survival game technically means. Like I guess I've watched a little bit of is it H1Z1 or something?
Isn't that a battle royale?
There was a zombie. There's some I can't remember. I've seen a little bit of it. Anyway, so this is like I guess this is kind of a genre that is picking up steam. So they're creating an actual new IP completely that's in a different universe. So it's not going to use based on what they're saying like Warcraft stuff or anything. It's just completely new IP. So your thoughts? Daisy. It was Daisy. Yeah, thank you, Chad.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I mean, the only thing I'm thinking when I hear stuff from Blizzard right now is how much of this has anything to do with Microsoft. Like, I don't think this is Microsoft related. Do you think so?
No.
Must have already been in the works before the acquisition, right? It doesn't just magically happen within 2 weeks that you have a new IP on the horizon. So, so this is an quote unquote old Blizzard product, and now that it's bought, perhaps their approach to it will be different. I don't know. Genuinely, like I said, don't remember really playing any of these survival games, but I know a lot of people really enjoy them and think it's some of the best gameplay ever. So I don't know, man. Like when I hear stuff from Blizzard, I want to see something good, you know? Like that's basically what it boils down to at the end. And if what's going to be their next big thing is a survival game, fine. Just make a good game. That's what we want to see, right? Probably not either of our favorite genres, this one. But the fact that they're looking to make new IP, I guess, is a good sign, perhaps. I don't know if you want to take a positive outlook on this. Could also mean that, you know, if they're looking for this did they just indefinitely delay Diablo 4, for example? Are they losing faith in their own old products? Do they not know what they want to do? And they're just going to start out from scratch.
I mean, they're just using that Overwatch money that they somehow scammed a bunch of companies into giving them to expand their IP and create something new. So that's the way I look at it. I don't think
that's got to be it. That's it.
I don't think it's taking away from any of their current games. They're not. I mean, I was gonna say they're not dumb, but fuck, yes, they are. Holy shit! What am I saying? They're idiots. Anyway, yeah, we'll see. Like I said, it's not a genre that interests me at this stage, but still interested to see, you know, what a company like Blizzard can do for something brand new. Because the last one they did was Overwatch, and I despised it. So
yeah. Not the best.
Okay, so that will do it for this episode. We do have one Patreon mailbag question, but the episode has gone long, so we will roll it over to the next week. We appreciate you guys. Until next time, SUNSfan and Cinderin signing out. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
We say things that don't mean anything.
Subscribe.
But thanks for listening.